Okay. The gardener has done his job. He's done the thing and he's gone. So we're going to carry on with the presumptions made by the automatons living in the legal fiction world and trying to make man believe that man is legal fiction. Okay, so carry on with number 3, which is the presumption of public oath. I think I was explaining this point before I got cut off. So for anybody who missed the first part is, number 1, a magician's court, if you didn't know, is something called a foreign vessel in dry dock, operates under admiralty rules of the UCC in maritime jurisdiction. It is strictly a commercial venue, all right, where commercial laws and rules apply exclusively. It's a commercial venue which is created to generate revenue. Okay, so it's a venue created to generate revenue. All right, revenue is currency. Currency is in your pocket, so somebody's going to get in there one or another. So try and cut them off. Okay. Anyway, we're dealing with vampires. These are automatons, energy vampires who produce nothing and expect you to pay them for it. Right. So presumption of public oath, not automaton character in a magician's court, i.e. no magician or a priest or a so-called public servant at a magician's court would ever act upon their oath of public office, simply because a magician's court is an administrative court. It's not a judicial court. So these characters never took a administrative oath. They took a judicial one. So they cannot use their judicial oath in administrative matters. Okay, so it's an administrative court, and when this automaton character is sitting there in administrative capacity, the magician, the priest, is not a judge, right? He's an administrative clerk and cannot take cognizance over any judicial matter. Okay? So presumption of public oath has to be rebutted by explaining to the character in a conditional acceptance that Mr. Automaton, public servant man, okay, I conditionally accept to appear like magic, yep, in your foreign vessel dry dock upon proof of claim that you have a oath of public office. Yeah, thank you very much. Right, you never hear from the character, you never see his oath, right? Because that's his bond, he's going to lose it. If he's found to be pretending to be a judge while his capacity is of an administrative clerk, he's liable for that, okay? So that's why you'll never, ever, ever see the oath of an alphabet character pretending to be a judge in a magician's court. So you need to rebut this presumption of public oath, and you need to reject the presumption by clearly stating that the official oaths of the public servants or public officials or court officials, whatever title they want to call themselves, in the matter should be placed on the public record. You'll never hear from them. They're full of it. All right, number 4. This is a sweet one. Yeah. Very good. Right, okay. Presumption, number 4, presumption of immunity. Okay? This is what people don't understand. When a character in a magician's court is acting outside their office, outside the official judicial office, they're not protected, they're not immune because they've gone behind the oath. So the presumption of immunity has to be rebutted fully. And you need to explain to the alphabet character that you are not immune from prosecution or accountability or liability or culpability for your acts in tort. Okay? And the accountability of these alphabet characters, you can look it up, 2013, September, their immunity was stripped off by the boss man, right? So they're personally accountable for their actions or inactions and or omissions. And this is by virtue of the apostolic letters issued motu proprio by the Supreme Pontiff Francis. Somebody explained to me he's not the tooth anymore. I didn't know that. But he's just Francis. But Francis has removed their immunity. Okay? So no corporation or the agents of a corporation can abuse their public office anymore. So the boss man has removed the immunity. So right now, if a public servant abuses his position to your detriment, you sue them in their private capacity. Okay? That's the difference. The public office doesn't exist. You need to sue the man in their private capacity. So if it takes you 5 years to find out who they are and how to serve them process, do that, because there is no defense for fraud. Okay? So if they injure you now, you still can sue them 20 years from now. That's the good thing about this. They have no immunity. So the presumption of immunity needs to be rebutted. And you need to explain to the alphabet character that you may proceed and abuse your position, but guess what? I'll be suing you in your private capacity. Okay? So I'll see you. Carry on with your nonsense, Mr. Public Servant Man. Okay? Just because you have a gray suit doesn't give you judicial authority. Judicial authority comes in form of a signed oath of judicial office. Okay? Now step down and back off. Right. Presumption number 5. This is a good one. It's a presumption of summons that an automaton character has the authority to summon a living being. Right? That's ridiculous, because the status in law is unequal. The living being is of a higher status in law than a dead being. Okay? So the living man is higher in law than a dead corporation, which is underground, is dead, is under. Right? So the summons is a presumption. A summons is an invitation in any case. However, because these people act ultra-virus, they go beyond their powers, and most of them, automatons, are order takers who have no discretion, so they won't even read the summons that they're executing. So it's up to you to be competent and to identify their errors and explain to them their errors in law, because they know nothing about law. They know procedure, but they don't know nothing about law. Okay? You are the law. Why? Because you are the law of the land. Why? Because you were created from the land, according to their propaganda. So you're going to take that. Okay? So no magician has any authority whatsoever to summon from the dead, from underground, a living man or woman, and they should reject their presumptions within 72 hours, because it's contract law that applies. It's commercial contract law. So when they send you their fake summons, you're meant to respond within 72 hours with a copy of their summons rejecting it, identify your standing and the jurisdiction as a living man or woman, and you file this in their court prior to going in there. If you go in there without any presumptions rebutted, they're going to carry on and they're going to milk your Citus Trust account. That's what they're here for. Okay? They're here to, they're vampires, and they're here to live off your sweat equity and your energy. Okay? So carry on. Another one is the presumption of custody. Okay, so language. Only property can be put in custody. Right? A man is flesh and blood. It possesses a soul. Most of us do. A whole bunch of us don't. And how do you identify someone who doesn't have a soul? Look in their eyes. There are plenty of those ones up here where we live. You look into the eyes and it's empty. There's nothing in there. You cannot communicate with anything, right? So these people are either clones or they have no souls, but they're running around in uniform doing a whole bunch of stuff. In any case, an automaton has no lawful authority over a man or woman who possesses a soul, okay? For a reason that a man or woman is not a thing or property. Presumption of custody needs to be rebutted and challenged openly by stating that the man is not a thing liable to be detained in custody by a custodian. So there you go. What you have is dominion authority over your name and estate, not custodian authority over your name and estate. That's what they claim. Okay, that's the lowest form of authority is custodian authority. The highest form of authority is dominion authority. Okay? Number 7, presumption of wardship. Because you're considered in their legal fiction venue to be a child and you're a ward of the state. All right? So you need a guardian. So the presumption of the venue is a court of guardians, which tries or hears matters concerning wards. All right? So you should openly challenge this presumption of court of guardianship. Let them know you're not a pauper or a lunatic who must obey the rules of the cleric of the magician's court. You understand? Because that's a cleric, then they're pretending to be a clerk. Okay? So let the cleric know very clearly that you're not a pauper or a lunatic who needs guardianship or wardship. Okay, so you could try his nonsense with somebody else. All right, number 8, presumption of court of trustees. Now, when they issue this fake documentation, right? First of all, it's written in a language that is not English. But if you choose to engage in this nonsense, right? What happens is they create a trust in your name. So ideally, a trust created in your name, you should be the sole beneficiary of it, right? Because everybody's got a name and they are the sole beneficiary of their own name. However, these alphabet characters will create a trust, okay, in your name and make you trustee of it, right? So the priest is going to presume to be the executor of your trust, and the cleric, there's going to be 3 branches of the so-called government to fuck you up, to screw you up. So it's the priest, persecutor, and the cleric. The 3 characters work together, and that's a triangle. So the 3 agencies or branches of government need to be there to confirm that you have abandoned your estate and you are a trustee. Yep, and they can go and cash in on it or take care of it or execute stuff on your behalf, right? And they hold you as surety for whatever they execute. So it's a whole bunch of nonsense, right? So by appearing, but now I think we all know what appearing is. By appearing at a magician's court, you are taken to accept the office of trustee, that you're a public servant or that you're a government employee, right? And that's a court of trustees, right? So the challenge is in stating that you're merely visiting there to clear up any administrative issues that may arise. And you do this in affidavit form 7 days before you go in. Let them know you're not the employee, all right? So such that the rules and regulations would apply on you, okay? So that's number 8. We'll do number 9 is the presumption of government. So by now we all know what a government is. Govern and mente and govern. Govern is just that, control. And mente is to do with mans and ment and mental and your mind. So somebody who believes they have a right to control your mind will call themselves a government, and they presume that there is a government. So the 9th presumption is that a magician's court is part of the government, right? The reality is that a magician's court is not part of the government. It is a venue for transacting security interests, okay? It involves trusts and bonds. It's livestock and bond exchange. They're exchanging livestock and bonds. You're the livestock. They create some bonds and sell you and the bond to the buyers. You can look it up and see how much you're worth. Because you're livestock, you're sheeple, cattle, chattel, agricultural product, human resource. Anyway, so don't believe that a magician's court is part of any government. You see, a condition accept to appear in your magician's court upon proof of claim that you're part of the government. Give me anything at all, that you're part of a government, right? Because what we have is municipal bodies posing as government departments. Okay? Righty, so that's presumption of government. So the magician's court is not a government. It's a bunch of alphabet characters who have hired a building, and there are, how do you call it? And writing letters out to people who may not fully understand what's going on around them, and then they're deceiving them into accepting these contracts. That's all. That's what's going on. Okay? So it's based on presumptions. So number 10, presumption of agency and agent, right? So when you go up there, when you come in contact with an alphabet character, a soulless one, and the first thing they're going to ask you when they make their presumptions is, do you understand? Right? So the alphabet character is going to make their presumptions and say whatever crap they're going to say and what act in their costumes, and they're going to ask you finally, do you understand? Okay, do you stand under? Yep. So whatever such words that you may use, understand, recognize, or comprehend, right? That's is an implied agreement, right? An understanding is an implied agreement. So the presumption of agent and agency must be rebutted. I do not recognize you. I do not understand what you're talking about. I'm not contractually bound to perform at your direction, unless you have proved to the contrary, Mr. Public Servant Man. Huh? Where is it? I'm not your agent, such that your agency rules would apply on me, Mr. Public Servant Man. Where is it? Where is the proof that I'm your agent or that I have waived any right whatsoever? Zero, right? Now, number 11. When you being either, I don't know, just full of fear as usual, because as soon as you see this nonsense paperwork, the first thing you run to is your mama. I'm sorry, it's not your mama. It's the some character who calls himself a solicitor. You know, solicitor. That's your mama, solicitor, right? We know what a solicitor is anyway. But right. Presumption number 11, presumption of incompetence. So when you go in a venue, which is there to generate revenue, sorry, it's a plane going past. Yeah, it's gone. Right. When you go to a venue that generates revenue, and there's somebody holding your hand, right, and speaking on your behalf because you don't know what the law is and you're too ignorant and stupid, you're presumed to be incompetent. Right? So it's a presumption of incompetence that allows you to let somebody else speak on your behalf because you're unaware of what you're talking about and what the law is. So our characters always presume incompetence when you go in there by yourself, but with somebody else who is one of their characters, bar guild member. In any case, it's a conflict of interest because all characters in the venue, they are working for the same interest, okay? All four of them against you, right? So presumption of incompetence, right? So you need to identify yourself to the magicians and his buddies that you hold the position of the executor, right? The executor of the account in the matter before the court. It's going to drive the magicians crazy, but who cares? I am. When they ask you, what's your name? What's your name? My name? I am the executor of the account in the matter before the court. Who are you? What's your name? I'm the beneficiary of the trust account in the matter before the court. Who are you? Okay? Find out who these people are. And if you ask him who he is, I guarantee you, he'll be out of there quick. I've done it. And we have it on video. The guy ran away. So, in any case, these magicians, they're full of it. Okay? So ask them simple questions like that, and they won't be able to do anything. Right? So you need to identify your position as executor and beneficiary for the matter before the court. So you may not be arrested, detained, fined, or forced into psychiatric evaluation over some nonsense. Okay? So don't be deceived. And finally, number 12 is a presumption of guilt. So when they write to you these dogged letters or summonses or proposed liability statements, and you respond to it, they presume you're guilty already. And guilt, as I said before, is guild, and that's a guild as well, right? So anything to do with guilt, whether you say guilty or not guilty, is a confirmation that you're a member of the bar guild. Thereby, the guild rules or acts come into force, right? So, if they want to compel you to plead guilty or not guilty, tell them this: you wish to enter demurrer until such time as the I can never say this word, interlocutory issue of the true jurisdiction of the magician's court is fully settled. All right? So you need to know what jurisdiction they're operating under before you enter a plea, because that'll be silly, right? So before you jump into the lake, you need to ask them whether or not there are any crocodiles in there, or if they know about it. All right? So just don't jump in there because the magician said so. Don't plead. Please begging anyway. You don't need to beg a public servant for anything. You don't need to beg for a service. Okay? You choose to have it or not to have it. You cannot plead. You enter demurrer until such time as interlocutory issues, foundational issues, are settled. Foundational issues are such: number one, does the claimant have the right or standing to bring the claim? Number two, does your magician's court have the authority and jurisdiction to take cognizance of the matter before the court? And now, you're going to drive them crazy. Now they're going to be drinking water. Their face is going to go red and all shit. And the group 4 are going to jump into the court, and it's going to be chaos and fracas. But guess what? Nobody's backing down from a automaton, right? Order taker, soulless creature anymore. This is 2017. Okay? It's a different age. The age of fear is gone, and the age of compassion and care is here. Okay? So, we need to understand the rules of the game. Now, we have scripts everywhere, so nobody has any excuse anymore, because those are the only 12 presumptions they go by. You see, so whichever one of those you need to use to stop them, you can. Because they'll never, ever, ever to be able to prove anything, because they don't have it. They're full of it. They base everything they do on presumptions. So the trick is, don't get caught up in the first presumption, because once the first presumption is established, they are allowed, in their legal fiction world, to graft a presumption on top of a presumption and carry on that way. So the first thing is, never ever get hooked. Never engage with the alphabet character, automaton, who presumes that he or she as a man has authority over another man or woman, because they don't. If they did have it, they'd be able to prove it. Signed and sealed. Okay? Wet ink signatures and red seals. Okay? So we're going to leave it there for now. What else can I say? In any case, all decisions made by a magician who's pretending to be a judge, all those decisions are null and void, right? So if you've ever been a victim of a magician, knowing that they have no authority to issue any fine or any custodial sentences or any orders pretending to be judicial while acting in an administrative manner, okay, they're liable right now because the boss man, their black pope, has opened the door or shut their immunity. Right? They have no immunity. So go after them. Every time they violate your rights, you sue them. It's all commercial, so you sue them for fictitious money, fiat money. That's all. All right? And if that's not possible, you sue them, so you draft your contracts that the settlement will be made either in promissory notes or credit or gold or silver. If that's not possible, then you're going to take his land and his house as surety, okay, for your claim. All right? Anyway, we'll carry on. We'll let you have the rest of the day off. I hope the presumptions are clear. And it's too black, still too black in it. Yeah, I'm still on your ass, bitch. Okay, so I'll see you guys later on. All right, bye.